gang, Ronan here. As you can see in this game, we've got Segabi Ravano playing the Tier 10 Imperial Japanese Navy destroyer Harugumo. And this is a ship that is a lot of fun to play. This and in particular, I think the Kitakaze are really phenomenal at what they do if you understand how to play them. To a lesser degree, I think that's also true of Akazuki at Tier 8. This is the gunboat line of the Japanese destroyers. I'm going to read from the World of Warships wiki the descriptor about Harugumo. I quote, "A further development of the Akazuki class destroyers, this ship features larger dimensions and 10 dual-purpose 100mm guns arranged in 5 turrets to serve as the ship's primary armament." End quote. And I'll give you the pros and cons on this thing, and then I'll get into the particulars of the weapon systems. Pros, a big health pool, 25,600 base. You can see that that's been elevated here to 29,100 with survivability expert. Has the highest damage output potential of any Tier 10 destroyer, powerful torpedo armament, excellent HE shell armor penetration. Low caliber AP shells allow for high effectiveness against broadsiding destroyers, and torpedo reload booster consumable allows her to put 12 fish in the water every few minutes. Now the cons: poor concealment, worst turning radius among all destroyers. Turning circle is larger than that of many cruisers. Large profile makes her an easy target. Very long torpedo launcher reload time. No repair party consumable results in her having less effective HP than some other same tier destroyers with the consumable. No defensive fire, no defensive AA fire consumable, and relatively miserable agility. All of those things are true in my opinion, both the pros and the cons. This thing handles like kind of a thick cruiser, and if you become accustomed to destroyers that are very nimble, this will be a big change. But these 10 guns, if put to good effect, can be amazing. And they do have increased pen values, so they really are a lot of fun. Now, sitting broadside in the cap the way that Segabi is right now, if you've watched my videos for any length of time, you know I find that very, very dangerous. And I never recommend doing that. I recommend either backing in or pushing in far enough to be able to then turn around and get your nose pointed away from approaching red ships and or approaching torpedo strikes. Now in this case, it was a miracle that Segabi set up this way, because the Harugumo cross-torped this cap, as you will see, I would say fairly regularly on this map, and Segabi probably was aware of that and positioned accordingly. Able to capture the Charlie cap in the very early going of the game. We're just over 3 minutes into the game, and Segabi's smoking up and letting the guns go to work on the Conqueror. Now, you may be asking yourself, why do those guns sound so weird? Well, a few updates ago, to give you some idea of how long ago I received this replay, there was a bug with this premium camo that Segabi is using, and it was really annoying, because that sound that you hear, every person in this game heard every one of these shots. That's what the bug was. It made that sound, and everybody had to hear it, and everybody not only heard it, but everybody heard it just as loudly as you were hearing it there. And Segabi turns around and goes to work on Harugumo, who's trying like crazy to get away. Can Segabi finish him off? Gets the fire started, but Des Moines finishes him off. Alright, so we're 4 minutes and 9 seconds in, 26,000 damage. It's nothing to write home about. You can see another torpedo is crossing the cap there. Plainly somebody thought that Segabi might push south. And Segabi goes to work on the core first, and this is kind of what this ship is all about. Killing destroyers and lighting fires and doing damage over time. And it's really good at it. Okay, so let me read a little bit more from the World of Warships wiki Um, okay, now there's quite a bit here. They wrote quite a bit, but it's all actually pretty good information. And if you haven't played this line and you are looking for information about it, I think you'll find this interesting. And you can just see it just rains shells. Okay, Harugumo sits atop the IJN gun-building range of destroyers, encapsulating and building upon the design elements and gameplay of the ships preceding her, namely the Tier 8 and Tier 9 ships Akazuki and Kitakaze. Armed with 10 100mm rifles and a single sextuplet torpedo launcher, she is a ship of absolutes. She has third place of the highest base hit points of all Tier 10 destroyers, has an incredible rate of fire, and has the worst maneuverability turning radius, plus base detection range, tied with Khabarovsk. The most notable differences when moving up to Harugumo are the addition of a fifth main battery turret and major performance losses in the areas of handling and concealment. She also gains a significant amount of health in comparison to that of her immediate predecessors, a whopping 25,600 base health. Captains will also notice the significant loss in mobility, especially in regards to turning radius, as well as the far worse concealment. Despite the major drawbacks found when upgrading to Harugumo, most captains will find that play styles that worked well on the previous destroyers are still applicable, albeit with some modifications. First and foremost, Harugumo is not a capture point contesting destroyer. Her poor concealment, awful turning radius, and huge size make her incredibly easy to hit with torpedoes, and enemy ships far behind a capture point will have no difficulty landing shots on her. Enemy destroyers will see her coming long before she spots them, and a competent enemy destroyer captain can easily avoid being spotted by Harugumo. Captains should play Harugumo in a similar fashion to that of a light cruiser. Stay outside of capture points early on, but stay within effective gun range to support the destroyers on the team who can capture. Engagements of all enemies should be done from within the relative safety of smoke or from behind islands. Open water engagements should be planned and executed in a manner that minimizes the number of enemy ships that can engage her in return. Harugumo's biggest strength is her insane rate of fire. When main battery modification 3 is mounted and the main battery specialist reload skill is active, she is able to toss out 10 shells in 2.5 seconds, giving her a rate of fire of an insane 250 shells per minute. With the contingent skills Adrenaline Rush and Fearless Brawler active, that can approach 300 shells per minute. Her reload time means that Harugumo is able to machine gun enemy ships and continuously spit out an endless stream of shells at enemies, making her an extremely fun ship to play. And you can see that Segami landed a torpedo there. Damage is now 61,000 plus and climbing. Due to the 30mm penetration of the Japanese 100mm HE shell, Harugumo does not require the inertia fused for HE shell skill to do damage to enemy destroyers. However, captains who do use it gain the ability to penetrate 37mm of armor, thicknesses found on high-tier battleships in many places. This allows Harugumo to engage all ship classes with great effectiveness. And you can see that Segami's been radared here. That obviously means there's the Des Moines right there, and throws it into reverse and is just trying to back out of harm's way as Des Moines is moving south and losing the ability to land shells. I think that was a really good call. And now Segami has Tromp in his sights, and it's not going to go well for Tromp. Tromp's good, has good guns, has good torpedoes, and has the airstrike. But the Tromp player is just not going to have the opportunity here. There's just not enough time to get this number of shells coming your way. Okay, so we've read the World of Warships wiki information. Now we'll just take a look at the guns themselves, and I'm going to compare them to the Hayate and the Shimakaze, both other Tier 10 Japanese destroyers. So the AP damage per minute on the Harugumo, 340,000. For the Hayate, 214,054, and Shimakaze, 137,979. So you're getting almost double the potential AP DPM over the Shimakaze. HE DPM, 240,000, and the Hayate 209,189, compared to Shimakaze at 134,843. The reload base on the Harugumo, 3 seconds, Hayate 3.7, and Shimakaze 5.7 seconds. The horizontal dispersion, 105 meters for all of them. The 180-degree turn time of the turrets for Hayate, 10 seconds, Harugumo 11.3, Shimakaze is basically very slow, 22.8 glacial speed, 180-degree turn time. Now, having said that, you can still make good use of the Shimakaze guns because they hit hard. Sigma 2.0, which is really good, and that's true for all three of those ships that I've named. The flight time of the shells at range, 9.3 seconds on the Harugumo, 10 seconds for the Hayate, and the Shimakaze. Shells per minute, 200 versus 97.3 for the Hayate, 62.7 for the Shimakaze. And I'm telling you all this just to highlight the differences, as Segabe is literally raining shells down on the Satsuma. Now, Satsuma's guns are phenomenal, but with this volume of shells coming your way, and Segabe's only going to be briefly spotted here, there's just not a whole lot you're going to be able to do. And Satsuma, if it runs into the island, it's going to even be easier, but it doesn't have to do that. Segabe finishes off Satsuma before he comes around the corner of the island here, so he's never even detected. And this game is actually really close. The score is 571 to 467. The good guys have lost 3 ships. The bad guys have lost 4 ships. And this is still anybody's game. All right, so let's just take a look at just the AP shells. AP shells initial speed 1,000 meters per second. So these are kind of like Russian laser beam type guns. And the damage base is 1,700 HP of damage. And the Hayate and the Shimakaze 2,200. And this is AP shells. The let's see, the Krupp, well, they're all roughly the same. That's the kind of a measure of the mass of the shell. Overmatch for the Harugumo, 6 millimeters. Overmatch for the other 2 ships, 8 millimeters. And the threshold is 17. Now, the HE shells, and this is where this ship really shines. Now, it's not that you'll never get an opportunity to get broadside AP into something, but it's the HE that really makes the difference. And Segabe is realizing, okay, I'm still in radar range. I'm not sure I want to open up just yet. And I think that was probably really smart. Yoshino guns hit really hard, and Des Moines being at that range where it could radar you, that could have been the end. I mean, he's down to 7,268 HP, so a really, really good call there, as he is now outside of that radar range. Friendly Montana goes down to fire from the Clausewitz, and this game just got even closer. There's only a 13-point gap, and the red team has the advantage. Okay, so I was telling you about the HE shells. 5% base fire chance compared to 9% for the Hayate and the Shimakaze, but you put out so many more shells that you're still going to light fires. And even if you use IFAG to get more pen value and do more base damage, you're still going to be lighting fires just because of the volume of shells that you're putting in the air as it finishes off the Yoshino's torpedo rack on one side or the other. All right, so that's the HE shells. Let's take a look at the torpedoes, which you're probably going to find the vast majority of your games is going to be doing what you're seeing right now, what Segabe is doing. And he is just raining shells now on the Yoshino. We're up to, we're about 350 shells have been fired at this point. And now it's, can he finish off the Yoshino before Yoshino accelerates behind the island? Segabe very wisely backing up to kind of give himself as many opportunities as possible. There's just not the chance to finish off Yoshino, but it was very close. Get some help from St. Vincent, and now Yoshino has been sunk. And that gives the good guys the lead again, 666 points to 586, with 6 minutes and 20 seconds to go. Good guys have 2 caps. The red team only has 1. But Hanover gets sunk by Conqueror. And the lead has changed again. And now the difference in points is only, 5 points. This is a really, really close game. Okay, so the torpedoes. The damage for the Harugumo and Shimakaze is identical. The Hayate does a little bit more damage, doing 23,767 max damage with a 12-kilometer range. And Harugumo and Shimakaze, the max damage there, 21,367. Blood chance, 361% versus 406% for Hayate. So they hit hard and do a lot of damage and have a pretty good chance of flooding. So it's not that you don't have any benefit from these torpedoes, because you definitely do. But a very slow 145-second, which you can see there at the bottom of your screen, reload means you're not going to have a lot of opportunities for the torpedoes in some games. And even with the torpedo reload booster, it is sometimes very challenging to find opportunities to land these torpedoes, despite the fact that you have enough range in a lot of cases to be able to get them out there. You can see the blue circle around Segabee's ship here on the minimap is showing you a 12-kilometer range. It's usually enough. It's very difficult with a lot of aircraft in the current meta or a lot of radar, particularly Russian radar, which is 12-kilometer. Des Moines is moving away, and it looks to me like the red team is going to be trying to get into the Charlie Cap to finish that. The friendly St. Vincent and Kearsarge are both in the A Cap, which is going to make it kind of difficult to stop them, the red team, I mean, from picking up the Charlie Cap. The red team right now has a 736 to 709 lead. And yeah, you can see the friendly Yoshino, who was sunk. He is exhorting his teammates to make something happen. Clausewitz, what's he going to do? Looks like he's currently turning out. Is he going to keep turning out, or is he going to turn back in? Segabee being very patient here, which is probably a really good idea. Finally lets the torpedoes go, and we'll just see how that goes. You can see he's used the torpedo reload booster, and the torpedoes are right back up. So fingers crossed that the Clausewitz eats a face full of torpedoes, and our hero is pushing into the cap. Clausewitz, well, it looks to me like Clausewitz knew they were coming and is turning way out and positioning his ship to be able to avoid getting hit. And where is that Des Moines? Well, if Des Moines was in range to light up Segabee with radar, you would think he would have already done it. Segabee trying to help his team secure the win. If he's able to get this cap, he might just do it. Clausewitz is essentially out of the game at this point. I mean, he's going to continue to put shells on St. Vincent, but he's not going to be helping against Segabee here in the cap much because he's so far away. Now, of course, there's still a radar threat here as Ohio starts pushing up, but it looks to me like Ohio is going to be going north of that island that you see at Echo 6, which means he's not going to be a gun threat for some time. Yoshino saying, stay out of direct sight. Well, that's good advice.
My God.
2 seconds, 1 second, and there is the capture. And it's still a really close game, but that really helps the green team. Conqueror seems to be coming back this way. Ohio did, in fact, go north of the island. Segabee backing up here as the Clausewitz has been shot to death. I'm sure wondering, where is Des Moines? You know, St. Vincent is this side. You know, you saw the comment there from Segabee DM is the biggest threat. And there he is, and he is outside of radar range, and he's currently reversing, probably trying to avoid shots from St. Vincent. As Segabee loses sight of the red ships north of the Bravo Cap because of the Kearsarge being sunk. Now this is going to be interesting. You can see the detection radius on the Harugumo is just this side of that island at Echo 6. And Segabee does not want to get caught here by Ohio and or Conqueror with only 7,268 HP as he begins moving wisely and patiently waits on the torpedoes. Looks like Ohio is going to cross north, and Segabee predicts that and throws the torps out. Careful to maintain invisibility by staying outside of the Conqueror's detection radius. Keeping his detection radius outside of Ohio's ability to see him. And it looks like this game's in the bag. These torpedoes, at least some of them, are going to connect, got 20 seconds to go. 900 to 873. I don't see any way that the red team picks up the cap before this is over. Segaby, great game. Really great game. Super well done. Just really well played all the way around and a great game. I appreciate you sending me the replay file. This was a fun one to watch. And one final couple of volleys there just to wrap things up.